Hi, I'm Lou Pamonte, and this is Music from the Inside. And we have a very special guest and one of my favorite guys in the world, really, Marc Rogers. Now, for those of you who might not know who Marc Rogers is, shame on you, but Marc Rogers has lived in many cities. I think you lived in Texas, you lived in Vancouver, and then you spent a time in Toronto. And when I finally met you in Toronto, you became kind of my right-hand man. I wouldn't do a gig without him. He's a bass player, but Marc is also a musical director. He's currently musical director for Mickey Guyton and John Oates of Hall & Oates. And so we're talking to him for a number of reasons here. We're going to touch on three topics. The first one I'd like to talk about is Marc moved to Nashville in what year?
We got a place down there in 2017.
Oh, it's been that long, eh?
Yeah.
And when did you move full time?
We still haven't. We still have our place in Toronto. We're still doing the dual resident thing. So
Okay.
the majority of the work I'm doing right now is based out of Nashville.
You've worked as a professional musician in a number of different cities. What is the difference between being a professional musician in Toronto and being a professional musician in Nashville?
Wow, that's a really good question. There's a number of differences because the scenes are very different now. I think there was probably less of a difference 20 years ago. When I first came to Toronto, it would have been 2001. Very much like a lot of other music cities at the time. There was an active session scene.
Yeah.
There was a lot of theater gigs. There was a lot of jazz gigs. There was a lot of touring.
Yeah.
It was a lot like an LA, New York, Nashville kind of place where there was a lot of different work, opportunities to do sessions, the type of scene where you would get brought in to just play with an artist. I feel like it feels like there's a lot less of that happening in Toronto now.
Yes.
And almost everywhere. Nashville, on the other hand, that's still very much a thing where.
So Nashville seems to be a little bit more old school and maybe stuck to the older ways, possibly the better ways. We don't know yet. I remember during my big session years, which would have been from 83 to 2000, every single gig was on contract. My pension was paid. I have a very healthy pension that I now take.
Yep.
And it was all above board. And I get the feeling that Nashville is still like that.
It is largely. I would say the vast majority, if really pretty much almost every session that I do in Nashville, especially if it's an attended session, is through the union. There are union contracts.
Does a contractor phone you or email you for the gig?
There's a few different ways that they do it there. There can be, there's something called a production coordinator who basically gets paid a flat fee to hire people, deal with the union contracts.
Right.
All of those things, put that together. Some people, there's also on a union contract, as you know, there's a band leader that's designated to get double scale.
Yep. And a steward that gets a bump.
Yes. Yes. And in that case, the band leader sometimes will contract the players if they're not using a production coordinator.
Right.
The band leader will also do the charts either on the session or beforehand.
See, this sounds very much like the jingle scene in Toronto in the 80s and the 90s. Every jingle house had production coordinators, and they would be the ones that would do all that stuff. There was even independent production coordinators when a music production house was too small, and they would hire Bev Crompton, and she would just do it.
Yep. There's one. My wife Karen is a producer, very active in Nashville.
Let's not gloss over that.
No.
Last night at the Junos in Hamilton, Karen was up for Producer of the Year, Karen Kozowski, and she rocks, and she is killing it in Nashville.
Yeah, she's doing great there as a songwriter and as a producer and as a mix engineer. So
these two are a power couple in Nashville, the Canadian power couple.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
More of the power is on one side than the other. I'll leave it to the.
That's like most marriages.
Well, yes, exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And you guys know what I'm saying. But yeah, so there's one guy she uses that's an independent production coordinator, Scott Johnson, and he's phenomenal.
And he gets a fee or a percentage.
He gets a fixed fee, and he's, if someone can't make it, has to bow out for whatever reason, he's the guy that will find a sub.
Gotcha.
In coordination with Karen.
Yeah.
And he just has a very long list. He's got a very deep phone book. And he's a great resource in terms of, hey, I'm looking for someone who does this kind of thing really well. Who would you recommend?
Right. So how is Nashville dealing with the home studio revolution?
Well,
because I've heard on some of the on Music Row, Music Row, I see studios closing all the time.
I guess so, but I mean, the studios that are open down there, there's still a ton of studios down there, and
On the old Music Row.
oh yeah, yeah. There's actually a bit of a resurgence of studios moving back there, because Karen's, my wife's studio, is in an area called Berry Hill, and that's sort of where a lot of the studios moved to. But now that area has become very expensive, so actually a lot of studios are moving back to the Music Row area.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah. So but there are still quite a few studios, and the ones that are open are booked. Like, it's not easy to book
Is that right, Ed?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there's a few times where, if you have a last minute thing and you're trying to find a studio, it's actually.
Are you aware that last week they tore down Sounds Interchange?
No.
On Adelaide is gone. The building is gone.
Oh.
For those that you don't know, Sounds Interchange was one of the biggest recording studio complexes in Toronto for decades. Anyways, like most things in Toronto, it'll be a condo now. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. With retail on the ground floor. Let's not forget.
Yeah, right. You took me on the tour of Berry Hill, and I was super impressed.
Yeah.
And at that time, which was maybe, just the end of COVID, you took me on a tour, and you took me to Addiction Studios, which was like blew my mind, owned by a Canadian.
Yep. David Kalmusky.
Yep. And who mixed a tune on the upcoming Marc Jordan album that's about to come out as well. And I was knocked out. And you told me that you moved to that area so that you could walk to sessions.
Yeah.
Is that still possible?
It is. I mean, for example, David is not in that building anymore.
Oh, he's not.
No, he had that building with a partner, and the partner owned the physical property.
Right.
And David administered the studio and had all the gear. And that building was sold by his partner. So he has now moved up to Music Row.
Oh, he has.
There's a very large organization there called Curb.
Yeah. Well, is it Mike Curb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and he's in. David has gotten one of the mix rooms in the old.
So he doesn't have a recording floor anymore?
Well, he has access to. He has sort of favored nation status.
I just loved his old building. I mean, it was pretty.
His new room. This room is a lot bigger than the traditional mix room, and we've done entire tracks live off the floor just in his control room.
There's enough room. Drum set.
Yeah, there's a drum kit, bass, 2 guitars, keys, and then there's a booth where this.
I love that there's no rules anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, actually, Karen. A track that she produced for Mickey Guyton. It was a Ringo Starr cover of a song called. Mickey Guyton did it, but it was an old Ringo Starr song called "You Don't Know Me at All." Mm-hmm. And this is one of the ones where she was looking for a studio because they wanted it. It was a last minute thing because Mickey was performing it with Ringo and friends at the Ryman. And her management wanted to have a version done.
Oh, I see.
To have available after that because it was coming out on TV and everything. So it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And there was a snowstorm that was forecasted. It was in December. So we were trying to find a studio where we could get in before the snowstorm, and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Everything we called. So we ended up tracking everything in David's control room.
Right.
And it turned out
great.
Yeah.
Well, he's a great engineer too.
That's the thing.
So is Nashville still like the old days here in Toronto? 3-hour sessions,
yes.
10 to 1,
yep.
2 to 5,
6 to 9,
with an hour for lunch.
Yep.
How many times a month do you go and play live off the floor with a rhythm section?
Well, it depends on how busy it is because some months are crazy busy, some months are a little slower.
Just say on a busy month.
Well, if I had to express it as a percentage of session overdub sessions versus live off the floor with the band, I would say it's about 80 to 90% live off the floor.
Oh, wow.
And 10% overdub.
Because those are the days I miss.
Yeah.
You show up at 10 o'clock. You don't know who's going to be there.
Yep.
You don't know what the music's going to be. You just show up. Because first of all, there was no internet. So,
no.
So it's like no one's sending me an MP3.
No.
That's why you got to work as a session player. Because they knew that you could show up, put a chart in front of you, and play it the first time.
Yep. And that's exactly the way it is now.
And you didn't know who would be on drums. You didn't know who would be on bass. You didn't know who. You had an idea because there was only a handful of guys.
Yeah.
But so it's still like that, eh?
Oh, yeah. And
see, I got to believe that's the last city in America, in North America.
I think it is in large part where that is still the norm. And of course, there are still I still do a lot of recording at home for people and,
including me,
including you. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I mean, that's just a function of practicality because, if I'm down there and you're here, it's in these days, it makes no sense you know.
And that's how I've been making records the last little while.
Yeah.
Very little live off the floor stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of that too is that that's a much more of an investment of money, frankly. Like, you know, doing it, because if you reach out to me to record something at my house, you know, we're not having to pay an engineer. We're not having to pay for a room. I own all the gear.
Yeah.
So it's just my fee, and I just deliver you a product.
Now, in the old days, a 3-hour session, you were expected to get 3 tracks done.
Yeah.
And it was usually roughly $300 back in the old days for a 3-hour session. Now guys are charging anywhere from $200 to $500 per song.
Yep.
But like you said, you know, there's no engineer cost, there's no studio cost, there's no nothing. So you pick and choose who you're going to have. And the good news is that you can have anybody all over the world.
Yep.
Play on your track.
As long as they have a decent home recording set.
And they know what they're doing. But I can have you on bass. I can have Larnell Lewis on drums. Yep. I mean, and the only thing it's missing, of course, is that you aren't playing together at the same moment. But I'm sure that's coming at some point.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be some latency. It's just physics, you know, like the speed of light becomes a problem at some point when you're playing music. I mean, 2-3 milliseconds of lag, that can screw up everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, that's the equivalent of having one shot of tequila.
Exactly.
Gives you a 3 millisecond lag.
Yeah, probably more than that for me these days. So, but it is very much still that way. And obviously there are, you know, the people in Nashville aren't unaware of the way that everyone's doing it everywhere else, which is the piecemeal thing. But I think because, first of all, a lot of the sessions in Nashville are still more, those kinds of live off the floor sessions especially are more, stylistically tend to be more organic in nature. Like it's not, if you're trying to make
it's more of a roots music or country music.
Or rock or pop, but like organic pop.
Right.
You know, obviously if there's a project where it's like you're playing to a drum machine.
Well, if it's EDM, if someone's making an EDM track, you know.
Or I mean, even sometimes what'll happen is in Nashville, there's a fantastic drummer named Evan Tarleton, for example, who's one guy. I know there's a few guys that are doing this, but he shows up. That's the other thing about Nashville that I love is cartage exists.
Yes.
And it's
which it used to.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way it works is that you pay a monthly fee to store your stuff, and then the labels will pay for the actual delivery. Right. And if you get X number of deliveries per month, they waive the storage fee.
Oh, I see.
So if you're busy and you're doing it, it's great.
That's it.
The only thing about it that I don't like is that I don't like to have not have access to my gear.
Right.
So I don't take advantage of it that often. But you know, if I was a drummer, I certainly would have
an extra kit.
Yeah. So you know, the drummers show up for the session at say 9:30 if it's a 10 start, and their kit is already set up the way they like it. And they've got all their snare drums in a box out in the hallway and all their cymbals. Yeah. And Evan, and I know a few other people do this too, but he's the guy I've seen do it most often. He actually has a little rig set up where there's a laptop running Ableton and some mics that are his on the kit that are separate from the studio mics. And what he'll do is he'll listen through the song and he'll go out on the floor and make a loop.
Right.
And filter it, do all the things, send it to the engineer, and then we'll track to that with him playing live drums.
Oh, that's interesting.
So he'll custom
Will the loop be used in the final product?
Yeah. Yeah. He'll make a static loop that we play with.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
and then he puts it on a grid.
No,
you're not playing to click. You're playing to loop.
We're playing to click, but what he does is he's playing to that click.
I guess so. It's already
it's in time, and then he'll send it to the engineer.
Right.
But this is happening during the session.
Yeah. Wow. Well, he's quick at it, obviously.
Yeah. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just down to science, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
And you know the keyboard players too. It's cool. A lot of them have a laptop rig with them as well.
Yeah.
So they'll bring, a lot of the studios will have a Hammond and a Rhodes and a piano and all that. They'll sometimes bring their own if they have it modded in any way or anything. Mm-hmm. And then they'll also have several synths, analog synths, and then they'll have usually a Nord as a controller.
Yeah.
And they'll have a laptop where
they have Omnisphere on it.
Yes.
Whatever plugs.
And again, just the speed.
It's all working good.
They hear something.
Okay, so I now that Matt Rollings has left Nashville, even though he comes back a lot.
Yeah.
So I got to know who this hot new keyboard player is in Nashville.
Well, he's been there for a while actually, but I think he went to Humber College here. His name's Dave Cohen.
Dave Cohen.
Yeah, and he was here for a minute. Went to Humber, and then I think he moved to Nashville pretty soon after he graduated.
Oh.
So he's been down there for well over a decade now, and he's routinely the when they do the the keyboard player of the year.
Yeah.
He's usually very.
Oh, isn't that great?
And just a
Go Humber College.
absolutely, he's a great player, great guy.
Yeah.
Billy Justineau is another guy. Matt Lauer, phenomenal player, arranger. You and Matt, I think of Matt as the Lou Piemonte of Nashville, because he does a lot of arranging, a lot of orchestrating sessions on keys. Very versatile. Can play a Hammond really well, but also knows how to get sounds on a synth.
And there's Tim Akers too, who very unfortunately died of cancer. But I love Tim Akers' reharmonizations of like Taylor Swift songs and Bruno Mars songs.
Yeah,
just such a talented dude.
And there's other guys that I don't know or have worked with once, or whose names are just escaping me right now. But there's a pool, a pretty serious pool of players down there. And,
there always has been.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a rotating cast, and I'm getting into rooms with people like that. They call Nashville a 10-year town, so I feel like I'm getting the point where it's starting to be a little more regular that I'm getting.
It's not interesting.
It's just networking and meeting people, and then sort of just being around.
Do you want to know what's interesting? Jay Graydon has a new YouTube channel, and for those of you who don't know, Jay Graydon he was one of the absolute top LA session men in the 70s.
Absolutely.
And he said, and I've heard more than just Jay say this, but he said that when you were a super busy session guy, like a Steve Lukather, Jeff Porcaro, all of those guys, basically the Toto guys and all that, so you had 3 good years. And then what everyone did was they moved into production after they had been a super busy session man for 3 years, because it's grueling, man. Like, I mean, my busiest week during the height of my session career was I did 15 sessions in a week. And on one day I did 5.
Yeah.
Now, these guys would regularly do that. And I think even more. So you can only do that for a certain amount of time until you start to resent the people that you're with. It's like, look, don't tell me what to fucking play, man. Yeah. I've done 700 sessions in the last year. Don't tell me what to fucking play. I can remember hearing Chuck Rainey saying, no, it was Leland Sklar who said that he had an extra knob installed on his space. And that did nothing. And when somebody wanted a little bit of change, he just twirl the switch that was connected to nothing, and they would always go, "That's it, Lee. Thank you."
And he'd change his hand position a little bit. Oh yeah. I had a bass that had one of those on it when I lived in Vancouver for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
But it's a little slower than that now. I mean, but there are still some guys.
No, I'm talking about the heyday.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the drum machine still was about to show up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We're talking about that era in the 70s when guys played, man, and you had to get the great players, and people would move sessions for those. Well, okay, we'll do it a different day. If Porcaro can't make it, then we'll just do it. We'll do it a different day.
Absolutely, right, man. Yeah, and but there are still some people in
but I'm surprised that you said it's a 10-year town, because 10 years as a session player is a long time.
Oh, I mean, it takes 10 years to sort of get into that circuit.
Oh, I thought you meant you had 10 years as a session player.
No. I mean, I think you have as long as you can stand it.
Right.
As a session player. But
with a
traditionally
copying attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Or just burning out, or losing the love of it.
Right.
Or all the things that can happen.
Or too much drugs and booze.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably less of a thing now, but it's not absent, obviously.
Right.
But what they mean by a 10-year town now? I mean, because I was a little older when I moved down there, and I already had some connections and a bit of a resume. I think I got doing stuff a little quicker, but I mean, I'm not like, I wouldn't call myself a first call guy down there. Like, there's a pool of like 3 or 4 or 5 guys.
Sure.
I'll get called if they're all busy, or or if I know the person. Like, it's a lot of relationships.
Like if Bonnie Raitt comes to town and wants to make a new record with session guys, she's not calling you yet.
Oh no,
there are a couple of guys.
Unless it's an unusually busy day,
okay,
and a lot of the first guys can't do it, and then a couple of the second guys can't do it. They might get to my name depending on who it is. But again, it's a lot of relationships too.
Did you ever get to do a session with Matt Rawlings?
No, the timing didn't work.
He was just a favorite of mine. Now, Big question.
Okay, here we go.
How has AI music, Suno, Ace Studio, how has it affected the music scene, the recording scene in Nashville?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
Do you go to sessions and there's already prelay with some Suno tracks?
it varies. That is definitely happening more and more. I think it's affected. There was in Nashville for a long time a very active what was called demo session scene where you would get hired to go in and you'd get paid at a lower scale.
There was a whole class of musicians that just made their living doing demos and never did finals.
Yep. Yeah. And then the idea was it's like a hierarchy where you would try to work up to getting on some master scale sessions, and then, but the demo sessions were still great players, and you'll still do demo sessions where you show up and it's the same guys that are doing finals. Right. But you're sort of expected to get more done in a shorter time, and there's less. You're not going to really obsess over the details the same way you would on a master session.
Of course.
But it's not that different an experience doing a demo session.
Right.
But on those sessions, I find that those are getting scarcer because a lot of people now are just putting it into Suno and getting a demo. And I'm not a Suno expert, but I've messed around with it a bit. What I've noticed is that it seems to do very well in genres where
it does well in country.
I was going to say it does well on any genre where there's a lot of uniformity.
That's right.
Where sort of everybody kind of wants more or less the same kind of thing.
Right.
It has a lot of training data in that case.
Yeah.
So country is one of those things.
It is.
For sure.
It is.
It's not. I mean, it's a whole burgeoning thing. So who knows where it'll be in 6 months? But right now, it doesn't really know what anything is. Like if you try to tell it, oh, I want you to do an acoustic guitar part here.
Yeah, no.
You might get acoustic guitar, but you probably also get a little bit of mandolin. And then at one point, the acoustic guitar might change into an electric guitar for a little while.
I like to say, there's this whole new thing in Ace and Suno where you've got a track and all you want to do is add something. And what I liken it to is a really bad session player who doesn't listen to what the producer wants. And he just plays whatever the fuck he wants.
Yes.
Like, oh, great. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Now, what I have seen is master scale sessions where you come in and there are Suno demos that you are basically attempting to transcribe and recut with some changes. But even in those cases, they're still asking you to, if you're like, hey, I got a better idea, they'll usually at least hear you out.
Sure.
But it's definitely present.
Have you gone to a session? Have you done a session where the drums are AI or the vocal is still AI or the keyboards are AI, or are you not privy to that information?
I don't always know.
Yeah, right.
Because a lot of times I think what a lot of people are doing too is when they get the Suno demo, they're getting the MIDI as well. And they're using the MIDI to sort of print their own prelay that you would track to.
Really? I would think that they would just use the actual audio.
Well, I think the problem with that is that a lot of times with AI,
it's detectable as
what happens is that as you go through the song, the stems start getting stranger and stranger because it runs out of.
That's right.
Because it's basically
like the drums will sound different at the end than they sound at the beginning.
Yeah, or there'll be a section where suddenly the drums just have a bunch of noise added because it thinks that's what it like. Yeah. Yeah. It just Suno.
I personally found I've got one song that I'm working on now where the drums and the bass are Suno still. I've replaced everything else. And what I had to do is I had to find the area of the track where I thought the drums sounded good. And I'm copying and pasting, because I can't just use it as is.
Exactly.
The funny thing is, and I said this in my last video, it's like I tell people that I produce records for, I said, by the way, if you think I can charge you less because we're going to be working with Suno on this project, it takes longer to work with Suno because, we like the idea that it gave us, but the amount of futzing that you have to do to make it approach sounding like a finished master is enormous.
That's right.
It's enormous.
That's right.
And guess what I just found out? What I just realized. And that is that all the training that all of these supercomputers and all these AI computers have done on music, it's almost completely done on MP3s.
Oh, yeah.
Not full frequency waves. So that's going to have an impact on the sound quality, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't know, like, another thing I find fascinating about Suno is that it doesn't know what anything is. It just knows that
Right.
if it just is used to looking at stereo files.
Right.
Like when you split stems out of Suno, it's not going, oh, well, here's the drum track I came up with.
Right.
Here's the bass track I come up with. It's literally going through and listening to its own stereo file that it made and goes, okay, I think these are the drums.
Right.
Because it'll give you options, like which one of these sounds right to you.
Right.
Because it doesn't really know. And, sometimes on the keyboard, you'll have a keyboard part and then suddenly it'll start strumming the piano.
Yeah.
And just
Or
weird.
horns will come in on the piano stem.
Yes, exactly. Because it doesn't really know what
Yeah.
things are. So that, I feel like
So you aren't seeing it that much yet.
not yet. I know some guys are. So I hear them talking about it coming up more and more. And, I think that as a tool for just coming up with ideas or to just, it's like a random idea generator. It's not that different from searching through Splice.
Yeah.
And just going, oh, that's cool. I could do something like that. Or, oh, hey, I like this. And,
Exactly.
except those loops were theoretically made by humans.
Right. And hopefully paid for them.
Yeah. Well, they are. If they're through Splice, they are.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is the big question, of course.
yeah.
We all know that Sora was just shut down.
Yeah.
That Sora is one of the big
The OpenAI video.
the video, and it was just unceremoniously shut down. I think by Sony. I'm not sure.
Well, they were just getting too many copyright strikes.
Yeah.
I think OpenAI just said this isn't worth it.
I think Suno, like when the copyright issues come down to brass tacks, and of course, legislation and bureaucracy and red tape takes forever. I'll never forget the story about the musicians union in the States heralding finally, we got mechanical rights on DVDs. And nobody used DVDs.
Yeah, exactly.
So things are changing so quickly.